50 to 70 better be the best years of your life, because after 70, you're really not living and you're managing. You're just trying. Everybody here on the Exit Rich podcast today, I got Jim Kolchin from iWallet. He's out in California. This product is growing. He's growing his company. He's sold it. He made his first $1 million at the age of 26. You're going to talk about that. And he's already sold one company to private equity. Jim, thank you so much for being on the podcast. I appreciate you being here, brother. And how you doing, man?
Good. Thank you for having me. And it's Kolchin. But sometimes I like to keep it simple because those Eastern European last names. Might as well call it K. Like Gary V. He made it easy. Vaynerchuk was probably too difficult for most of the people, so he just called it V. So I actually sometimes say K, just Jim K.
Jim K. Well, welcome. Tell everybody who you are and what you do, Jim K.
So I'm a founder and CEO of iWallet. iWallet is a new way to take payments in the field that saves companies a lot of time and money. It's a company based in San Francisco. We work with a lot of home service businesses. I'm a former HVAC technician and company owner, and I started this specifically for the home service industry.
All right, so here, let's talk about this here. So tell us exactly what iWallet does, because some people have heard of it, some people haven't. I know what it does. I know what kind of software integrates with, doesn't integrate with. But tell people what it is and what's the advantage of it, because then we jump into iWallet, your journey. I thought you were a plumber. That's what our research showed, but I guess you're an HVAC tech, but same field, obviously. We'll talk about that journey.
That's right. So it all started in somewhere around 2004 when I started my first appliance repair and HVAC business. And my first merchant processor was a company called First Data with Bank of America. They still exist. They kind of signed me up into this complicated 3-tier type of pricing for credit card processing, right? And you thought that you'd be paying the lowest tier, and of course you end up in the highest tier. And there was no checks processing solution out there, so there was no easy way to take checks in the field. So my first stab at it was somewhere around when Square started. My first company was called swipetopayless.com, about 10, 12 years ago. And the idea was that you would get a small discount, when you use this little swipers. When you swipe, they give you a discount. And that's when I realized that fintech is so competitive. It's incredibly difficult to start a company in finance. I kind of put it on autopilot. I just used it for my own company. And then after selling my latest startup, I came up with this automated knife sharpening machine that we sold. And so,
step back. What did you automated? What?
We created this automated knife sharpening machine called Resharp. It's a machine that sits on the counter. It goes into an Ace Hardware, and it's kind of like Coinstar. Those coin counting machines, where they do a rev share between the business and the store. And so that idea actually came from my co-founder. I just wanted to sell the machines, and my co-founder Dave said, "No, let's do a rev share," which was pretty cool actually. And we ended up selling this company in less than 2 years after founding it. You can
sell to a private equity firm, or you sell to someone private?
It's a publicly traded company called Hillman.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a relatively small company. It's not $1 trillion company. But you might have heard of that from Home Depot, like Key Crafter, those key cutting machines. Mm-hmm. And they also own Minute Key. You've seen it probably at Walmart. And so our machine was better than a key cutting machine because it didn't have any cogs. You didn't have to put blanks in it. It didn't generate as much dust as keys did. Yeah, and so it was a great fit, and we're super grateful to Hillman, and we love them, for what they've done. They helped us scale it, and the machines are doing really great right now out there. There are over 1,000 machines, maybe a couple of thousand machines right now out there in the States. So your local Ace Hardware should have one.
Do you still own part of it, or do you keep some equity in there, or do you just cash out and run?
It was an earnout deal. So we're still on the earnout schedule. And we did cash out as well.
Congratulations. How's the earnout going for you?
It's going great. Yeah, the machines that are becoming more and more popular. There are still some challenges. But overall, we're really happy with the outcome.
I'm not an earnout person. I'm not an earnout person anymore. I've changed my whole tune on that. I tell everybody, do not take an earnout. I've been paid earnouts, but then I had one hiccup with one company. The person wouldn't even show me the financials. I'm like, what do you mean? So I'm just not, like, for the extra turn or whatever it is that you might get, I'm like, it becomes more of a bad relationship when you have an earnout. I feel like you don't control the company. You're not running it. So just make sure earnout's set up the correct way. So let's talk about
what can you tell me more about that earnout? What kind of company was that?
It was actually my digital agency. I mean, you can read it. I mean, I wind up having to sue them. I mean, it's a sad situation. Yeah, I just wanted to see the financials. I'm like, hey, we didn't hit the metrics. I'm like, well, can I see the numbers? No. Well, what do you mean I can't see the numbers? I should be entitled to the books at least, right? I mean,
Right.
When you bought my company, you made sure you saw all the books, right? When you bought my company, you went through it with a fine-tuned tone. Now you don't want to pay me, and you don't want to give me anything but a one-sheet piece of paper saying you didn't hit your numbers. Doesn't work that way. So it's the first time I've ever been to that experience, to be truthful with you. So
yeah, we've had those thoughts, but fortunately for us, we were hired. Most of our team was hired. I was just there for the first 3 months, but my co-founder and my other co-founder stayed on that team. And it's a publicly traded company. It's a lot easier, right, when the finances are.
Yeah, I mean, they're not going to mess around. I mean, we were dealing with search funds and someone that's raising money. It's just a totally different experiences. I had a lot of great experiences. I've had a lot of great experiences. I would tell people now when you meet, you sold your company, and I don't know if you've raised any money yet for iWallet. We talk about that. As you raise investors and you start bringing people's money on board, GPs and LPs interests don't align, right? I try to say that, when I'm raising money, I'll give you a deal today that I just went through. Someone just came and pitched me, right? To be part of the GP fund, right? They said, hey, listen, we're going to bring you in as a GP. We're going to take 20% of the equity in the company. We're only going to put up a total of 3% of the whole entire deal. But we're going to take 20%. I'm like, okay. I'm like, I get you're putting the deal together. So, all right, you're raising the money. But we're going to also then be able to backdoor and sell one guy in the accounting company. They're like, you can do, the marketing, Lance, and we'll pay you for your marketing services. I mean, I don't know the marketing company now, but people want me to come back into marketing. They were like, we'll pay you for marketing and we'll pay you for your knowledge to be on the board. I'm like, wait a minute, I'll make all my money back that I'm investing in 18 months. I'm like, the interests don't align with the LPs then, because I'm really just taking away a funneling money. Now, granted, they'll get their money back 2, 3, 4 times, whatever, as it keeps growing. So I'm not a big fan of search funds. I don't believe in them. I have a hard time being part of a GP that allows allocation for money to come back in for services. I have no problem being part of a GP that does it this way. Hey, listen, on the first percentage of money we make you, we get paid X amount. Then anything more than we make you, then we get paid X amount more, meaning it's a paid performance tier that we get to manage and run the fund. Kind of how private equity firms do. Make sense, Jim?
Right.
But just to start running these, a Penn State deal I was going to do, same thing. It was fucking bizarre, Jim. The guy said to me, I think they had to raise a total of $13 million. I don't know if this deal even closed yet. Raised $13 million against the Penn State deal, and it was a total of a $40 million deal, but then it came up with $13 million. And I was like, all right, well, I'll put $3 million in to be part of the GP. They wanted $5 million. But when I got into the numbers, and they took 40 to 50% of the whole entire equity they took. And this is the best part about this deal, and where people don't think and they don't understand the business, Jim, is they only raised about $1 million as the GP. The other $12 million was coming from the limited partners. Make sense? They were doing a debt lever to the bank for the rest of the money. But what this $1 million GP was doing on this Penn State deal was they were getting paid fees for leasing back all the apartments. They were getting paid fees for all the construction work for their construction companies and management companies. I'm like, guys, like, your interests don't even align with your LPs because you're just funneling money back. So I think people that aren't savvy start not to understand how all these things work. I'm not saying there's not a place for a guy that wants to just throw 50 or 100 grand in, or, I just invested into a rum company, right? But I got into it on the GP side, right? But I'm not going to run the day-to-day of the rum company, but I invested in it. It's just interesting, that whole world, and that you sold once now. Talk to us about iWallet and what it does and your journey, how it got you here.
Yeah. Just a point on the whole, PC, P and VC. I was just watching a clip from Warren Buffett, how he was making jokes about this. How can this even exist? Right? You get paid, 2% or 20%. It's a whole other topic, but it works. Plenty of people out there are doing this. So with iWallet, after selling my previous startup, I started thinking, the two lessons that I took away from the knife sharpening business. First, total addressable market matters. Right? If you think about knife sharpening, it's about it. Okay, hope starting to cut it out.
I don't get that.
Yeah, so total addressable market is about $50 million in knife sharpening, right? So you can't really raise money. We tried to raise money for our company, and we failed because you can't really build $1 billion company out of this. In VC, the way the math works is, if you buy 20% of the company, it has to be $1 billion plus exit in order for you to return the fund. And if you end up selling it for $200 million, it's not really, that's not what VCs are going after. And so we couldn't raise any money, even being in Silicon Valley, even being with my superstar co-founder. And I've met a friend who's now on our advisory board. He is a GP at a fintech fund, and he was like, "Well, look into payments. Check out fintech. It's a fascinating business because fintech is just so much bigger." And since this was a pain point for me from back in the day, I wanted to create something to compete with Visa and MasterCard. How they take 3% from us, and all of the merchants kind of hate that and want to get rid of that. So I figured, okay, we'll do an ACH based system because ACH is free, and I thought it would be a QR code based system. Kind of like what they have in India, China. I don't know. Have you heard of those systems where you don't even need a point of sale machine? Just scan a QR code, pay from your phone. So that was the first iteration of iWallet. I got involved with the University of San Francisco. I used to live right next to it. And we signed up. I went on campus, sponsored their basketball team, their volleyball team. And, we did a sprint with our students to sign up all of the merchants around the university and sign up all of the students to get the system going. The idea was that if we can do it at USF, we can replicate it throughout the country. And it didn't work. And it's actually very similar.
It didn't work, or it did work?
It did not. No, I spent.
Okay,
I spent almost $1 million and a bunch of my time trying this out. We were giving 20% cash back. The idea that Peter Thiel is teaching, he's saying something, in order to create something new, it has to be 10 times better than anything else out there. So I figured, well, you can get 2% cash back on your Capital One. So how about you're going to get 20% cash back on iWallet? So I was funding all of that, and I was giving away, fat bonuses for our students to install iWallet and use it. But then COVID happened. A bunch of students left campus, and even during COVID, those that stayed still did not use our payment system. And my takeaway was that the habit of us, the consumers, using plastic cards is just too strong, right? In China and India, they went from cash directly to mobile. So that was a 10x improvement. But going from plastic to QR codes is not really 10x. And it took me, there's a famous article of TechCrunch saying that there are so many dead wallets out there. People have tried in the last 15 years so many wallets, and they all fail. There's even one wallet called ISIS that would try before that whole.
Did you say ISIS?
ISIS, ISIS.
Yeah, that's probably not gonna make it, baby.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not the greatest guy in the world, boy, but that goes sound like a name that we want to get popping here in the United States.
Yeah, but
you're in Pakistan, I don't know.
Yeah, right. But that thing was started by AT&T, I think in T-Mobile, some big phone operator. That was before this whole ISIS thing in the Middle East. But yeah, that thing also didn't work. And the Toast guys, from what I understand, this company, point of sale company, Toast.
I know Toast very well. Restaurants use it big time.
Yeah, we're really looking up to these guys. They're super successful, right?
They got good technology, very good technology.
Right.
I've used it in a few of my restaurants that didn't work out.
Oh, it didn't? Oh.
Nah, I'm 0 for 7 in the restaurant business. That's the one business nobody wants to go on. You don't want me in your restaurant business. I'm the worst.
Okay.
I'm mush.
Okay, yeah. Well, they're still super successful. There are plenty of.
They're great technology. They're great technology as a point of sale system. They're probably the best out there.
Yep. And so when they were starting out, they actually also in Boston, they tried it with QR codes. I think it was like 2012, 13, something like that. And then they pivoted to the restaurant space and the Android tablets that they have.
They do very well.
Yeah, I think it's like a $24 billion company now. So our idea, my idea then, I met my other co-founder in San Francisco, and we thought, okay, how about we try this in the home service space? And we did with this company called Marcone that I'm super grateful to. I've been doing business with them for over 20 years. They're the largest appliance parts distributor in the United States. They supported our early idea of bringing iWallet in this new iteration to the home service industry, and it took off from there. Lots of appliance companies signed up, and then we started going to trade shows. That's how I met you, right, at one of the trade shows. We're now doing about 50 trade shows a year, and it's been a really successful go-to-market for us. And
how's the iWallet being accepted? Do people like it? How many users do you have on it?
So iWallet has been, I would say, really well accepted by a lot of home service companies out there. One of the unique products that we offer is checks processing, where you only need a front side image of the check, and we can detect the backside and endorse it automatically. We also found a way to save people a lot of money on credit card processing fees. And that's another driver. Plus, we just added a new category of being able to help sell more service contracts, and we bring recurring revenue to the home service companies. We made it really easy for technicians to sell service contracts and all, like VIP membership style. It has the tips. Tips has been a game changer for a lot of technicians out there. There is a tipflation out there. Tips are everywhere. I think it was Square, and Jack Dorsey was actually my neighbor in San Francisco across the street. He was the one that came up with this idea of a tablet, swinging tablet. Here we go, sign it, right? And there's a button there for tips. And we all felt awkward at first. But now we bring tips into the home service industry.
Oh, yeah. Why not? I mean, they should tip, right? These are hardworking people.
That's right.
Let's talk about that. When you say home services, is it mostly HVAC, plumbers, roofers, electricians, all the above? Who's using your product?
Yeah. So primarily right now, we focus on the HVAC and plumbing companies, but we're also starting to dabble into other industries. Flooring is a huge industry out there. Think about kitchen and bath in general. There's plenty of money there. I was just at a trade show for solar companies. That was not a good fit. Solar, unfortunately for us, or maybe fortunately for the industry, but it's 95% financing, right? They have the so-called PPA, power purchasing agreements.
Where you at, SolarCon? Where you at, SolarCon?
That's right.
They're great guys over there. They're great guys. Jake and Joe, great guys.
Yep, Joe. Yep. We had a lot of fun, and we even had some interesting conversations with the other vendors that might potentially be using our services. But as far as general industry, they don't really care about credit card processing with checks.
They don't care too much about shit in that industry. They don't. It's the Wild Wild West. That's why I don't go into it. It's the Wild Wild West. I tell people all the time, like, Lance, why are you in solar? I'm like, that's the one industry I won't go into. Unless there's not money in it. It's just the Wild Wild West.
Yeah.
I'm sure you saw at SolarCon. That's what it's kind of like.
Yeah. Well, I really admire the tenacity of the sales guys. I love those sales guys. They're just like really, a great people to hire for iWallet. They'll sell you anything.
I mean, you are right. The salespeople are what make it. If you make it in solar, you could probably sell anything. Most people don't realize that. How do you make the transition from being a technician? Like, you're driving one day, you said you're in the HVAC world. Were you the flip it guy? Were you the sell it guy? Were you the fix it guy? Or you don't know what kind of guy you were, and you're like, fuck this, I really hate this, and my mind was somewhere else all day long? Like, how do you make that transition?
So it was not easy, but luckily for me, I actually made my first $1 million at the age of 26. So
you made your first $1 million yourself at age of 26?
That's right. Yeah. I came to America. So as you can tell by my accent, I'm an immigrant.
Where you an immigrant from? Where you from? Poland, Russia? Where you from? Ukraine?
Well, born in Soviet Union.
What's that? Soviet Union? Like that? Is that Russia?
Well, now it's Russia. Yeah. Now the central Russia, northern Urals.
Okay. I didn't pay attention in history class. I got to do better. But I know it's somewhere over there. Yeah. Hey, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. I want to give a quick shout out to our sponsors, Service Titan and Rilla, our technology of choice to helping us scale and grow our business and making sure all of our viewers have the technology to scale their business so when they want to sell it, they're able to. Yeah. So you come over here, you make your first $1,026,000 doing what?
Yeah, so I came here in 2002 with $200 in my pocket, and landed in this Ocean City, New Jersey. I was actually just out there last week because there was another trade show, and I stopped by. A really beautiful city, I worked all kinds of odd jobs, sweeping boardwalks, selling ice cream, washing cars. And my really first job was a Wonderland Park, where you just turn on lights, turn it off, and make sure everybody's safe for $6 an hour. And I was studying computer science in Moscow University, so I dropped out and ended up coming to California after that, and from there I went to work for this guy, fixing appliances, and that's how I kind of ended up on this trade. And then I made the first summer working for this guy, I made like $150,000. And I was like, oh my God, you can make a lot of money doing this.
So you were selling tech then to make that kind of money.
Well, I was selling in the appliance industry. You just sell repairs, right?
Sure.
Washer repair, refrigerator repairs, where you make the most money. When you sell a compressor evaporator coil, and then I started my own thing. Google was kicking off. AdWords just came out when it was like really low PPC, and I started that. Saved up money. I got married. Saved up money for down payment to buy a house, and then I started reading this guy, Nouriel Roubini, out of NYU. He was talking about recession, that building permits are collapsing, recession that I had. And I shorted a bunch of investment banks. And, the biggest win was Bear Stearns in March of 2008. I had a lot of puts on Bear Stearns, and that was my first $1 million. We were actually celebrating with my wife over the weekend when JP Morgan announced that they're buying them for $2 a share, and I had like $60 puts where they're out of the money, a whole bunch of them. So that worked out really well.
What'd you do with the $1 million? What'd you do?
So yeah, I paid a lot of taxes first of all, and then we moved to,
especially living in California.
Right. We moved to a nice house in Newport Coast, Crystal Cove community, bought a Bentley, and, I took 6 months off, my first retirement, and I got extremely bored. Right. And that's why
you can't live off $1 million. I mean, Jesus Christ.
Well, it was actually more than $1 million. I just like to say it was the first million. But I kept shorting. Ended up being a really prosperous 2008 for me. And then, of course, I made the mistake of continue to be in short, and missing the whole boat on the way up. So I'm not as smart as I would like to be. But it gave me a cushion to choose what I do. And it was still difficult to transition, being a technician, to start other things. Right. I started inventing things. My first startup idea was actually a mailbox sensor. I did a Kickstarter campaign. I got inspired by the IoT. Remember Nest, that little thermostat that Google bought for a couple of $1 billion? I got really inspired by Nest acquisition and the whole IoT Internet of Things movement. And that's actually how I met Jamie Siminoff here in LA. He was the founder of Doorbot. Back then it was called Doorbot, that little ring camera that he sold to Amazon for $1 billion much later. And my idea was, since I was running the company, and technicians were sending me, money by mail into my mailbox. It was really critical for me to know when the mail has arrived, because that's a lot of money in the mailbox. And so my idea was that it would give you an app notification whenever your mail has arrived. And I even got a patent for it that would look at the route of the mail person and prevent the mail theft. So it would detect when forecast when the mail would be delivered based on the route, because each mailman has the same route every day, right? So anyway, I did a Kickstarter campaign. You can even look it up, and it raised like $4,000. And I spent $200,000 on it, worked for 2 years on it, and it was a complete failure. I was really depressed, and it was really difficult for me to move on. And I was like, that's when my first son was born, and I told my wife, hey, let's move from LA to Silicon Valley. I want to do other things. It's just, something is not right here. And, that's where I started my second company. Third rather, my knife sharpening company. And it worked out really well in Silicon Valley. Yeah. Silicon Valley is a magical place, where things happen.
And you're there now still, correct, right?
Well, so now I'm actually, right this moment, I'm in LA, but I'm kind of between the two places. We still have our office in San Francisco. So I'm there, very often, but right now I just happen to be in LA.
What's next for iWallet? Like, you guys do a lot of conferences right now. Do you do a lot of marketing on Facebook, Instagram? What are you guys doing there for marketing to get inbound leads?
Yeah, unfortunately, Facebook and Instagram did not work out for us. You don't. Whenever you need payments processing, you don't just go and watch some ads on Facebook and sign up. That's not how it works. Our goal is to build a $10 billion company. That's one of the things with the home service industry. When you have a plumbing company, the best of us, what's the biggest, Lance? What do you think is the biggest HVAC company that you've ever heard of? Like, what's the best exit that you...
Well, private equity or privately owned? Two different ones.
Anything.
Well, I mean, I could tell you Alpine, which is Apex. Apex is owned by Alpine. I'm going to assume they're going to do this year, and it's probably their 8th or 9th year in the HVAC industry. I'm assuming they're going to do about $5 billion in HVAC this year. HVAC and plumbing. That's a lot of money for only being in the industry for 8-9 years. Now, that's a fun, this and that. I'm going to say the guys that are privately held, listen, not everyone's a Tommy Mello, right? Like, I try and tell people, like, this, the guy's a savage, right? So not everyone's him. But I'm going to say the average HVAC company that sells is probably somewhere between $10 and $30 million, probably the average, right? And they're nice companies. They make money. Plumbing, probably a little bit on the smaller side. Electrical is definitely going to be on the smaller side. Roofing, same thing, somewhere between 10 and 30 million be the average. And they're good evaluations, right? You're going to get somewhere between 6x and 13x, depending on the vertical, what systems process you have in place. When I hear $10 billion, even for a guy like me, I'm going to shoot you straight. That's a fucking long hike. And that's just not a hike I'm willing to sign up for anybody. I'm right now looking at going to the hotel business, right? And the guy said to me, we're at 400 million today. We'd like to get to, 5 to 10 billion. I said, listen, I'm okay with getting to 2 billion, 3 billion in the next 5-6 years, but I'm not doing a 20-year stretch. Like, it's just not. It's all relative, right, Jim? How far do you want to grind this out? I want to be with my children. So it's a little different. I think there's no right or wrong answers. I think you just got to have the right answers for you and be honest with yourself to what you want to sign up for. So if you're going to 10 billion, I'm going to assume you're still under $1 billion today, correct?
Correct, yeah.
I mean, so you got another, I'm assuming that's a 15, 20-year plan?
Maybe 10.
10? All right. And that's not bad. I mean, if someone said to me, hey, 10 billion in 10 years, that's something I could probably get behind. 10 billion in 20 years, Lance Bachmann's dead. I'm 52 years old. But you're not being rude.
You'll be around for another 50 years. Look at you. You're looking good, man.
Listen, I can tell you this. It's everyone goes out on a steel plate. And I heard a line, Jim, and it really changed my life. I heard a guy speaking, and it really changed my life. And he said, listen, 50 to 70 better be the best years of your life. Because after 70, you're really not living and you're managing. You're just trying. And if you really think about it, most people that you meet in their 70s, far and in between, do you meet that gun-ho, built, great, charismatic guy out there shaking and baking, doing all this stuff, right? I mean, like I always say this, like for Donald Trump to be doing what he's doing in his 80s is absurd to me. Like just absurd, right? Like, do you know how many people die before 80, let alone the energy that guy has, right? But I heard that line and it changed my life. I'm like, I got literally now 18 years of good living, like, talking about good living, working hard, being able to go on vacations, being able to hike, being able to go be with my wife. So it just really changed my thought process of how much money do you really need. That's just for me in particular. It makes sense, Jim?
Yeah, well, Buffett just retired at 94, right? So before you know it, you might have 42 more years. And it's all about enjoying it, right? If you enjoy building startups and hustling around, then you don't really feel like work. What?
I love doing it. I just love being with my children. Now that switch might flip. Like my wife always says to me, as soon as my son DeVito's 17, 18 years old and he's out of the house, well then, okay, yeah, that's 12 years from now. And that might just be where I just go full tilt back all day long. But right now I'm home every night. I coach every single night. I'm around it. I'm there in the morning. I'm like the worst entrepreneur ever. I tell people that all the time. Like, because I used to be obsessed. I used to get up every morning, work, not see my kids in the morning. I wouldn't be home at night. Over the last 4 or 5 years, as I sold more and more companies, I'm home every night. I don't go out to bars anymore. I don't go on guys' I'm like the opposite of what you read about most entrepreneurs. I'm very family driven, home driven, and with my family.
What are the age of your kids?
11, he'll be 12 this summer. I got a 9-year-old will be 10. I got a 6-year-old that will be 7. So I got a 34-year-old son, but the 34-year-old's out of the house. But you got children, Jim?
Yeah, I've got a 10, a 5, and a 1-year-old.
Yeah. Boys. So I mean, I don't know how often you're with your children, but I try to be with mine as much as possible. My oldest just left sleeping with me. He's just sleeping about me every single night. And he just left like 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago to his own bedroom. I'm like devastated. I'm like, babe, did I do something? Is something? It's like, no, this isn't. I'm like, see, what are you going to do? Think he's going to sleep with you till he's 18? I was like, I honestly thought he would. I really did. I mean, I didn't expect him to be sleeping up in his bedroom. And now he sleeps with it's really heartbreaking, to be honest with you.
Yeah. I hear you. Well, we're trying to give, kids, an independence so that, as far as sleep, it's a whole big topic, right? How to do better sleep. We didn't do any of the sleep training like, they teach us here. We slept a lot with our kids, but we feel like kids sleep better when they're alone in that bed, rather than with somebody. They grow, once they sleep better, they grow bigger, right? It's really important to have a good sleep for them. But yeah, as far as your comment about spending time with kids, absolutely. That's what I'm prioritizing myself. I actually dropped off both of my older kids this morning to school. And I try to pick them up every day and try to spend as much time as possible on the weekends. We go to soccer club here, and we do golf, and there's actually Trump's golf club here, and my older son is playing better golf than I do. We. How's
Trump loved in California on that note? Is he loved in California, hated in California? What's the Trump daddy out in California? What's his pulse like?
Well, it's just like anywhere else. There are a bunch of Trump supporters here and Trump haters. It's a love-hate relationship, just like anywhere else. And as you know, California is primarily Democratic. So it might appear that everybody's a Democrat in California, but that's not true. Famous example is, I follow these guys on All In, a podcast. I don't know if you heard of him, David Sachs. How they did a dinner in San Francisco. A bunch of Silicon Valley guys, and Peter Thiel was another one. He was actually a supporter for Trump at his first term. There is a bunch of guys, and the whole Silicon Valley, actually, including Elon, moving towards supporting the Republican Party now.
Why do you think that is? Why do you think that shift's happening? Because I'm seeing it more and more too, where business people are saying, even poor people, right? The Democratic Party used to be the party for the poor, but it seems like the Republican Party is the party for the poor and for businesses. What do you see that out in California? Is that just out here? Or, so I'm seeing a shift. You are seeing that dynamic. It seems like, anyway.
Well, I'm a big follower of Ray Dalio. I don't know if you heard of this guy or not before. Yeah. He runs he's a self-made billionaire, runs a hedge fund out of Greenwich, Connecticut. And what he talks about is a changing world order. It's not really so much about politics, but I view it as more of, changing, a political landscape, changing social landscape, and more importantly, economic and debt cycle. That's what usually happens, unfortunately, towards the end of the economic, much bigger, what they call is Kondratiev cycle. When the debt cycle is so large, and I'm actually really upset. Just like a bunch of the people out there about our budget. As a country, we still can't balance our budget, right? We still have even the new budget was supposed to be balanced. Everybody promised us to finally balance our budget, but we're still not balanced. Ray Dalio talks about the beautiful 3% budget deficit, where we grow 3%, but we also have a maximum of 3% deficit. But yet this new budget that just passed the House is still 8%. That's unsustainable. You cannot just keep spending as a family unit. You cannot keep spending.
If you did what the government did, you'd be in prison.
That's right.
Like I said, I say it all the time. Like, if you did what the government did, you'd go to prison. You'd go to fucking prison if you did what this crooked ass government does on both sides. I say it all the time. We'd be in prison. We just can't go write fake checks out there and say we're going to take more debt on, and we just can't go out there and say, "Oh yeah, this is good." Like, we can't do what they do. It's amazing.
No, and unfortunately, they spend our kids' money, and the fact that Elon just left, essentially left, Doge and that whole White House idea last week, and he said the only thing that we can do right now is just grow. That's the only hope that we have is growth.
Well, he left because he's afraid he's going to get assassinated. I truly believe he thinks he's going to get assassinated.
Right. That too. And he's not. I don't see he's getting a lot of support for Doge. He's getting a lot of hate for trying to cut the expenses the way he's doing it, and Congress does.
Think about this: people supported them hiring 87,000 IRS agents to audit our small businesses. We go and audit where they're spending our money, and everybody's up in arms. It's crazy to me. I don't understand. And the best part is this: if you look on social media, I see everyday people complaining about Doge. I'm like, wait a minute. You are people already paying somewhere between 30 and 50% of your tax money on every dollar that you get to this government. And you don't want to know where it's going?
Yeah.
Amazing to me.
Well, people are starting to understand that something is off, with inflation and our budget being upside down like that for so many years. That's why there is the shift. And it's actually historically has happened before many times. If you look, and it's funny, I'm promoting now Ray Dalio's book, but he wrote an excellent book. He's retired. The guy doesn't really make money off of his book. He just wants to help out for people to understand what's going on in the world. He's really talking about the rise of China. The Chinese, you have to give them credit. They're just crushing it. They're hardworking people there, and they're balancing their budget. In particular, energy production. Their graph, if you look at how much energy they're making, and they're preparing for the age of AI, because that's, we're basically, running into a wall with our energy production, but they're, forecasting it well, and there are some good things happening, like now supposedly it's easier to open a nuclear plant. You probably heard on the news last week, but we'll see. And that's kind of going back to your earlier question. That's how I like to view the world. Through this long-term cycles, and I encourage viewers and you to look at Ray Dalio's wisdom. I will. Fascinating guy.
Listen, I don't want to hold you up. We went over an hour. My guys are saying this, but I want to say this to you. Check out iWallet, everyone. Go check it out. Jim, thank you so much for being here, brother. I appreciate it. I look forward to seeing you soon. Thanks, Jim.
Thanks, Lance. Well, and a little plug for you. I hope I will see you guys who's watching us right now. On the Marco Island in December. Is it on the Marco Island again?
Yeah, it's back at Marco Island, December 3rd through 5th at the Roofing Conference Process. Yes. What did you think of the conference last year? Did you like it?
It was awesome. Yeah. Met lots of great people, including Tommy Mello and Lance himself, and Gary Vee was there, right? And many other great and interesting people that you can also meet there, including me. I'm going there.
There you go. My man. Can't wait to see you there. I look forward to it. If you need anything, let me know, Jim. Thank you so much. Everyone, check out iWallet ASAP. Good little toy to help you run your business. Way to take checks and credit card services. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Have a good one.